Joe, how would you just describe, the last few weeks, getting this team to kind of put the chaos of Lane leaving in the past and, kind of work through the issues that you guys have had to deal with as a coaching staff and get ready to play today?
Well, the best part of it was just getting back to normalcy with football, right? When we got back to the meeting and focusing on Tulane and getting ready for practice, that's the thing that kind of sent everyone back into, like, what's the mission at hand? Having those guys come back up. Charlie did a phenomenal job his last 2 weeks. He really did, coming back in here. Look, remember this too. It's not easy for those guys to come back in this building. Like, they were nervous too coming back in this building. How are they going to be received? And, Charlie did a phenomenal job of really kind of connecting with the players, really building on he was here to help them win. He was all in this team. And, look, there's a lot of leadership he showed the last couple of weeks. Did a phenomenal job preparing the team. All the coaches really worked together well. But it was, obviously a smoother transition once the football started, right? When you kind of let the dust settle and the other stuff, and that was really good. But I was really proud of the players, the way they kind of blocked out a lot of the noise, took a lot of the external stuff, and could turn into motivation what they're doing on the field. But really the main focus wasn't any of the other, stuff out there. It was about Tulane. They were too good of a team to overlook. Our guys knew that, and we knew they were coming in and play well tonight.
Coach, 2 questions. I asked you earlier about your journey this week, earlier this week about your journey coming from East Rutherford, Foxborough to now Oxford. What did tonight mean to you, and how great was it tonight to see both of your quarterbacks go out there and perform at a high level?
Tonight was awesome, man. Tonight was awesome. That's the second time in a stadium in a postseason game where the crowd just sang "Living on a Prayer" without the music keep playing, and that's just one of the coolest things, from being on. Sometimes you can step back and realize the moment you're in, and how cool and just how exciting it really is, and be truly happy for the players, because the game's about the players, right? That's what it is. Like, look, you could fire every coach. They're still going to have a game. There's players to play. You can't really. Who are you going to coach if there's no players? So seeing these guys, achieve the success and give themselves another opportunity in a couple weeks against a very good Georgia team, that was really, really good because they worked very hard. They stayed focused, went through a lot of, long extended days. You got to remember, that normal routine that they went through for 12 weeks changes when finals are over, right? Everyone else leaves town, Oxford, everyone's kind of going home for Christmas break, all that type of stuff. And these guys now have a little bit later meetings, start of the day. The routine's thrown off. It's not quite as lively all the time, in these kind of breaks in between semesters. But these guys were in here for extended periods of time, came up here, put a lot of extra hours in film time, some walkthroughs on their own, did a really good job on that. So the reward of seeing these guys, happy in the locker room afterwards, that's what you do it for.
And Trinidad got banged up, but then eventually went back in. What do you see out of him, the toughness, the grit?
Yeah, he's a tough dude. Look, it's football. You're going to get hit. He got hit. Those guys hit hard, too. He got up. He wanted to stay in. We had explained to him, like, you go down, you got to have at least one play. And obviously the medical staff had to make sure that he was clear to go back in doing their job. Pat's staff does a phenomenal job on that right there. But as far as Trin, he's a tough dude. He's a tough dude. He's a gritty dude. He's got a lot of mental toughness. I think he's shown that through his journey of, being willing to take on these challenges, going from Ferris to here in the SEC, and then fight through a position battle and how he's responded to a lot of adversity along the way. He's a tough dude. He's as physically tough as he is mentally.
Yeah, Joe, the offense came out with almost 2 borderline perfect drives there. How critical was that for you guys to just silence everything that's been around and just go and play football there?
Well, you can't get too high or low in these games, right? So it was great we were able to come out, first 2 drives, go down there and just score. That's ideally how you want to start every game, right? Play from ahead, kind of shapes the way your defense can play as well. If you can put the other team in more of a pass and catch-up mode, playing from ahead is always the way every coach wants to play. But at the same time, one of the things I'm most proud of this team, and speaking specifically for this offense with these guys, you kind of go through all of our games throughout the year. Like, just start off in Kentucky, right? We were down multiple scores in Kentucky, week 2. How many games we trailed or in close games. Me and Trin were looking at the Washington State stuff the other day just in case there was any copycat schemes that came up. And, like, Trin had to ask me, he's like, gee, I forgot we were down in the third quarter in this game. Like, yeah, we were. But the thing about this team was the entire time, there's never like a point and a finger. There's never a high and a low. There's never an overreaction. It all stays right here. This team's done a really good job. So we knew going into this, postseason, there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows in the game. We just got to keep it right here. So we're very pleased how we started off tonight. Both halves, as far as like going down there and be able to execute, score, come away with touchdowns. But at the same time, if we had started out slow, that can't be a reason that we don't finish the way we want to. We've just got to go ahead and keep on the process and put the plays together and keep getting the ball down the field and converting those situations.
Yeah, and then follow up. You've been a part of championship organizations, programs before. How does this compare pedigree-wise in that locker room? Do you feel like this team has true championship DNA?
You see a team that's very unselfish. You see a team that plays for each other. You see a team that's very accountable to each other, and they work extremely hard. Because they've been able to go through a lot of games, that this is a very, very tough competitive conference. They've been able to win a lot of big games when they've been up, when they've been down, closing games out when it mattered, executing in situations, 2-minute drives, things of that nature. That's just the formula that you have to a chance of success. There's a lot of talented teams in this country that are sitting home watching teams play right now, okay? More talented teams in a lot of instances right there, but they don't have a team, right? So, PG did a great job this week of getting these guys really bonded and buying in and blocking out the outside noise and really focusing on Tulane. But in terms of like the next step of where we're going, again, we kind of talked to the players, like you don't talk about Fight Club. We got the Georgia Bulldogs. Whatever's after that doesn't exist right now. So whoever's thinking about hotels or trips, whatever it may be, that game doesn't exist. We've got the Georgia Bulldogs. They're a really good team, coached as well as anybody in the country. They play tough, they play fast, they're extremely talented, and be very prepared. We've already played them. They're going to have a jump start on us because they've had time this week where they can sit back and just really, hone in on what we do, Tulane does, knowing they've got one of these two opponents. We have not overlooked Tulane that we've jumped ahead on Georgia right now. We're going to have to use some of these extra bonus days right now on the front end of prepping up for them. But in terms of like the down the stretch where it's going to go type of deal, we got one game that exists right now. We've got to earn the right to have, another Monday, another Tuesday, another Wednesday every week in how we practice and prepare.
On those first two drives, was that Charlie's script? I was curious how far out y'all go and if you do any for the second half too, if that's not confidential.
I mean, look, there's not too many secrets. I mean, look, people start out with a script, some for different reasons, right? You play Andy Reid, he's going to play, him and Shaw Payton are going to play every formation, every personnel group, and everything to find out the answers to the test that you're going to try and present to them, right? And then they're going to get all the information that you've worked on all week. They're going to go ahead and find different formula. Some guys form scripts that they're going to try and take advantage of something specific you do schematically and play fast on it. We've had weeks where we do both, okay? So kind of changing it out. But yes, that's Charlie's script. It's Charlie's offense. He designs it with help of all the assistants. He calls it, okay? He does a phenomenal job of it. Charlie's done a really great job all season calling the offense. And I was glad for him to go out tonight and have that success right there. But absolutely, look, you talk throughout the first half, what are they doing? What are they doing differently than we expected? What's the same? And you talk throughout the half, and then you get into halftime, and you just kind of say, okay, here's a handful of plays we want to go ahead and use to get started. You're not really calling plays thinking, okay, 3-4 plays in, it's going to be a touchdown. You're just trying to go ahead and get the first down, get the sticks moving. And our message to our quarterbacks all year has really been like, just play point guard, right? Get the ball in the hands of the guys who can make plays with it. And all reality is you're standing 4 or 5 yards back behind the line of scrimmage. You can't really do much to help us, right? We got to get the ball to someone who can by moving it forward right there. So just take access passes, take good matchups. If we see a scheme that we know something's going to come open, let's take advantage of it. If not, get us out of dodge, hit the check down, hand the ball off, whatever it may be, and let's keep on moving.
What was head coach Pete Golding like today?
Pete's Pete. I think that's what makes him so special is he's not going to change no matter what title or label you put on him. He's always been the same guy. He saw the game from a big picture standpoint when I first met him last year, same as he did tonight. I think he did a great job of really delegating. It's not easy to call a defense and be responsible as a head coach to manage the game. So we kind of delegated throughout the game as far as when the defense was up, what my responsibilities were, and the communication we'd have throughout the game. But PG is not going to change because you put a label in front of his name. That's so much that I know about him. That's a huge reason I want to stay and work for him. Okay, you want to work for people who are good, genuine people. Okay, put the team first, and that's who he is. Good. Okay, guys. Hey, guys, appreciate you.